Frieza is back in Dragon Ball Super Episode 95, and boy, is this an absolute treat for me, who's such a huge Frieza fan. I've always been a fan of Frieza. He's always been my favorite Dragon Ball villain, just because he's the literal definition of a character who is deliciously evil. And what that means is a character who's so evil, like, you just can't get enough of it. It's so awesome to watch them be evil. And that's what Frieza is. Frieza is the literal definition of a person who is deliciously evil. Like, this episode, because I was so kind of afraid when they announced that Frieza would be coming back, and not only that he would be fighting with Goku on the same team to save the universe. I was so afraid what they were going to do. I didn't think that they would ever go the route of, what happened with Piccolo or with Vegeta, where Frieza would just, Goku, he's a good guy. No, I didn't think that they would ever go that route, because Frieza is totally different in that area. He's in a totally different vein of being evil than Piccolo or Vegeta ever were. He is just this literal... I know I'm saying literal and literally a lot in this video. I just don't know how else to describe it. He is just the utmost, incumbence of cynicism, of being cynical. Like, this episode, basically he, obliterated, not even obliterated, like, he just tortured these guys. Like, there was the amazingly beautifully animated scene in the beginning where he fires one beam, and it almost does like a Dark Side Omega beam effect, where it's, waving. We fired one beam, but this one beam is swirling around like it's, taffy in a factory, waving around, and it's poking through multiple of these guys. And then later on, we get where he's, trying to find out information about who these guys are. And he is, torturing this one guy, shoots him in the leg, and then shoots him in the arm, and then continues to shoot him throughout his body. And then the guy's like, okay, I'll talk. And then Frieza just shoots him in the head and says, you know what? You can keep quiet for a little bit longer. I'm realizing that I'm having so much more fun just doing this game of torturing you than actually figuring out what this information even really is, which is so much the Frieza character. Because Super has done a great job at doing that. If you guys remember Resurrection F, that came out 2 years ago now, I believe it came out in 2015. I liked that movie. I hated how they portrayed Frieza at times. There were times they portrayed Frieza in that film like he was a whiny little baby, that he was just a little bitch. They treated him like just a generic villain. They didn't treat him like he was Frieza. There were so many times in the movie where he was just whining all the time. Like, if you guys remember when Frieza was there, or not when Beerus was there, and he was like, "Oh, Lord Beerus, are you here to interrupt my fight?" Just whining. Frieza would never whine like that. Never would he whine. And there were just multiple times throughout the movie where I felt Frieza just wasn't represented right. And then when Super went around to doing the Resurrection F arc, there's so many people that said, "Oh, that's so pointless, don't do it." But if I were to tell somebody, like if somebody asked me, what should I see? Should I just watch Resurrection F the movie and skip the arc? I would say, no, skip the movie and watch the Resurrection F arc, because in my opinion, Frieza is just represented. Say what you want about that entire arc, be it the animation is horrible or whatever you want to say, but just Frieza as a character is represented so much better in the Dragon Ball Super arc than he is in the movie. And the only scene I really have to point out for that, to back myself up for evidence, is the scene where he's torturing Gohan. Like, he's just like, because in the movie, both in the movie and both in the arc, Frieza's just waiting for Goku to come. And in the movie, he's just like, all right, my soldiers will attack you guys. And then when they all die, he's just like, all right, well, now I'll send out Shisame or whatever. And he didn't really do anything. The only thing he did to Gohan was he just kind of jumped out of his chair and punched Gohan in the stomach and then jumped back right back in it. And I'm like, well, okay, that showed how strong he was, but that didn't really show how scary Frieza was. Just because he's strong doesn't necessarily mean that Frieza's scary. But in the arc, instead of just, jumping out of his chair and punching him and then jumping back in, he shot Gohan in all of his limbs, and made it so that he couldn't even stand. Like, Gohan was literally on the ground, couldn't even move, could barely move. I correct myself because he does end up moving later on, but he could barely move while on the ground. And he is just basically torturing Gohan, and it's just basically like, when Goku comes back, he's just gonna be here while all of his friends are just rotting corpses on the floor. And that's Frieza, man. That is what makes Frieza so cynical, and that's what makes Frieza my favorite villain of Dragon Ball. It's just because of that cynicism, of that evilness. And the movie just it had some of that, but it just didn't really capture it right for me. What captured it really right for me was what they did in the arc. And here in the newest episode of Super, it's clearly back again in full fucking force. Frieza is just an absolute cynical bastard again, and it's so amazing. Even when Frieza is basically making a deal with the Universe 9 God of Destruction and Kaioshin, just basically like, let me join your team. Let me show you've already seen how strong I am. I don't need to prove myself anymore in that area. You've seen how strong I am. Let me join your team. Let me, and that's what makes so much more sense to me, because when I originally heard that Frieza was going to be recruited on the team, I was so drawn back and appalled at that, because I couldn't in any situation, not any single solitary situation, imagine Frieza, of all people, to accept that invitation. Even if his life was on the line, he's already dead. He doesn't care. He hates Goku. Like, there's so many people that were like, well, if Frieza's life was on the line, I'm sure he would join the team then. No, you don't know who Frieza is then if that's the case. Frieza hates Goku. Like, he doesn't just hate him. He, hates him with every fiber in his being. Because of Goku, Frieza was humiliated on Namek. He came back and began to have a fear of Super Saiyans. And almost not even of Super Saiyans, of almost Saiyans themselves. He hated Saiyans so much, and now he just hated Goku. And then Goku humiliated him again after Frieza came back and, got this new form, and Goku humiliated him again. And not only did he humiliate him, for years, Frieza was being tortured in hell by these, angelic creatures. Frieza was being tortured in hell, and every second he was down there, all he was thinking about was how much he hated Goku and the rest of the Saiyans. Now, in what situation do you honestly believe Frieza would be like, oh yeah, I'll fight alongside you, Goku, you're my new best friend? Never. What was going through my mind was, if Goku asked Frieza, hey, join the tournament, Frieza would basically be like, no, I hate you, go fuck yourself, you're gonna die, and I hope you lose the tournament, and I hope we all die, because there's nothing more hilarious to me that if me and you both die together. I feel like that's what Frieza would say, just basically telling Goku, no, screw you, go to hell, I hope you lose the tournament and die. Basically, that's what I would imagine him saying, but Frieza agreed. But what makes that so good this episode was that he only agreed that yes, he agreed, but he's got a plan. He's not going to stay here. He's going to go into another universe, join their team, and basically turn the tables on Goku, while having, with his plan being Goku's team loses the tournament and Goku and everyone is erased and he's still alive. That's so smart. That's so brilliant, that's so evil, that's so cynical, and guess what? That's so Frieza, that's so amazing, that's great. I'm really loving that. And I really kind of hope it is true that he does transfer universes. I really hope he does, because I've heard rumors, and I actually speculated this a long time ago, that Yamcha will be the 10th warrior of the tournament, which they've been building up to. They've been building up to this since the beginning of the arc. And honestly, Yamcha being a part of the team makes a hell of a lot more sense than Frieza, because Frieza would never in any way team up with Goku. Just never. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below what you guys think about Frieza coming back, and comment down below what you guys think about Yamcha possibly being the 10th warrior for Universe 7. And like always, I'll catch you guys later.